it's just such an interesting sphere. We don't know anything about it yet. We're learning still. What happens under the ground with fungi and bacteria and the interrelationship between plants and how they talk to one another and whatnot. We know nothing about it yet. And I've just seen since we've been going down that path, we've just seen improvements in our country.
That was Baden McDouall, and you're listening to The Regenerative Journey. From wherever we are, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, recognising their continuing connection to this land, its waterways, the stars in the skies since time immemorial. We pay our respects to the elders, knowledge holders, and to all the generations of First Nations peoples who have nurtured their unceded sovereign lands for over 80,000 years and continue to do so today.
G'day, I'm your host Charlie Arnott, an 8th generational Australian regenerative farmer. And in this podcast series, I'll be diving deep and exploring my guests' unique perspectives on the world so you can apply their experience and knowledge to cultivate your own transition to a more regenerative way of life.
Welcome to The Regenerative Journey with your host Charlie Arnott.
G'day, welcome back to The Regenerative Journey for our last episode of Season 7, kindly sponsored by Highland Beef. As you can hear the birds twittering in the background, sitting here in the Borough office, waiting for the rain to fall. The wind's picked up a little, the birds are tweeting. So we are waiting with anticipation for rain. Enough of the local news. I do want to. I'm a bit sad, really, because I'm sad. Not sad. It's the end of the season. I love our seasons. I love what happens in them. I love the opportunity to interview amazing guests, amazing people, unearthing their stories, their trials, their tribulations, their challenges, and achievements. It's a real honour, I have to say, straight out of the blocks for this final episode intro. It is an absolute honour to chat with these people. I'm very enthused by the number of other podcasts out and about that are doing similar things. They're, exploring and understanding and certainly unearthing stories of other people. I think it's wonderful that there's so many really good options, really good, interesting podcasts out there for people to jump on in the farming thing. I guess we may be a little unique in that we do sort of stretch across farming and life generally. We're not just stuck on farmers in terms of regenerative journeys and regenerative living. But yeah, an honour to be part of those who are bringing people's stories to the world. Before I do my thank yous to sign off, actually I'll do the thank yous at the end. That's what I'll do. I won't bang on about it now. Just one quick thing I want to mention is that Conscious Ground, we are doing a biodynamic workshop at Conscious Ground. Oh, geez, I should have those dates ready. It's the 20th and 20-something of November, I think. Oh, my God, I should have had myself organised, shouldn't I? It is somewhere down there. It's the end of November. Let me just have a quick little search here. It is 20th and 21st of November. It's up in the near Byron Bay. Lovely bunch of people there, farming, growing all sorts of yummy food. And Hamish and I did a workshop there. Oh, gee whizzikers. Must have been last year, actually. It was fantastic. A bit of an in-house thing. But this one is open to the public. Get onto charliearnott.com.au, check out the events page. Grab your tickets, because even when this comes out, it's still going to be another 3 weeks away from 3 or 4 weeks, actually, from the actual workshop. So please jump on there and do that. Now I'm a bit of a brain freeze. I was going to talk about something else as well to finish off the year. Oh, maybe a bit about next year. Like, next year is what is next year going to be? I don't know. Season 8. Hoping to get overseas next year, actually, and interview a few people. over there in the US and in Europe. We'd love your feedback. Please feel free to jump on the website. I think the email address says contact@charliearnott.com.au. Let me know who you'd like me to interview. There's some obvious ones in the States. I want to try and grab Gabe Brown. Dave Asprey I'd like to interview. Joe Rogan, that'd be awesome. Interview those guys. Do they do interviews? They do all the interviewing, don't they? But maybe they'd like to sit on the other side of the table on a different microphone. Joel Salatin have done, of course, a few guys at Kiss the Ground there in LA. Bloody hell, I had a few lined up. I'd have to just jump on my Instagram. Did I say on me Instagram? That's a bit rude. On my Instagram. And try and just have a bit of a flick through here. But there's how cool would it be to interview Robert Kennedy Jr.? That would be so amazing. And who pops up on my feed? That very man. If you're not into Robert Kennedy Jr., I don't know. I just reckon he is a bloody winner. Yes, he's the nephew of John F. Kennedy, and I just think he is an amazing person. If I was in the States, I'd be voting for him. That is no doubt about that at all. I'm kind of glad I'm not in the States, though, because what a shit fight that is over there. But anyway, it's good to and he's got some bloody really solid views on the world. I reckon he's a lawyer, but I tell you what, he's a nice one, and he is he cut his teeth with environmental related cases where he defended people, and he prosecuted many environmental vandals in his day, and then in more recent years he's been doing other very interesting things. So just flicking through here, I can't actually, nothing's popping up here, right here. There's Justin Rhodes. That'd be pretty cool to interview him. Who else? Anyway, get some things to me, some suggestions. I'd love as many as you have. Actually, Sarah Schmuder, she gave me some tips the other day, actually, some people who aren't well known but lovely, and she said they'd be awesome guests. So anyway, I'm really happy. These people don't have to be famous, by the way. Let me know. Now, also in Europe as well, who's over there? Richard Perkins, Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall would be awesome. I've just started, a couple of weeks ago, Jeremy Clarkson. If you anyone watch, it's hysterical. It's very funny, very interesting too, getting a bit of an insight into the British ag industry, and gee whiz, and we reckon we were sort of governed and restricted by regulation. My God, they've got just unending amounts of red tape with everything they do. So that's been interesting. So Jeremy Clarkson would be awesome to track him down. I'd love to interview the King. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? When he was Prince, it probably would have been a bit easier, because I have been to his farm over there, Highgrove Home Farm, many years ago, and David Wilson, the farm manager there, Kate Prentice. Now Kate, that was her maiden name. Kate, you know who you are, Pommy. She lined that up. This is years ago now. It was fantastic to meet David, and I did a bit of a video interview with him on the farm. So I still might have a bit of an inroad there. Who knows? That'd be a bit of a coup, interviewing the King about regenerative agriculture in his life. I'm sure it'd be highly edited and I'd be getting scrutinised. But anyway, that'd be awesome. So anyone else over there, you might want to. Jim Beery, you're up for it too, mate. I know you listen to this. You're an avid listener, which is fantastic. And Jim's not necessarily well known, but he's an awesome farmer over there. He's been very helpful in a few contacts, and he's doing fantastic things. So look after him. Look him up. Farmer_Beery, Northern farmer who likes to ask questions. I think that's awesome. Who else over there? Bloody hell, I did have a bit of a list. I'll think of it. Oh, Patrick Holden. That'd be awesome to interview him as well. But give me some tips. I'd like to get to Spain, to Ibiza as well. I've got some good buddies over there. Jess, you're just doing some amazing stuff over there. So keen to interview a few people there. It'd be a good excuse to go to Ibiza. Is it Ibiza? Yeah, it is Ibiza. So that's going to be awesome to get over there. In Italy, there are a few people over there I'd probably like to interview now. I was there 5.5 years ago, and I wasn't doing podcasts, but I think there's a few people over there I'd love to interview as well, because it's just, I don't know, love talking to people. But I think that may well be an international season. Having said that, though, there are quite a few people I want to interview before I go, which does mean that I'll have to have a long, hard think about how I'm going to fashion next year's seasons. Michelle and I will have to put our heads together, as will Reese, my long-suffering but so patient producer, too. Reese, who's getting married soon too, and he's so good. I've got to say, very patient and does such a wonderful job, but I'll thank him when we get to the other end of this interview. I think that's all I wanted to chat about. There's some our farm days in a couple of weeks' time, but this will be well and truly over by the time this will be out after the farm day, so I might have a report on that another time. But I think that's enough from me. Baden McDouall, he is one of the Highland Beef farmers that take on some of the Highland Beef, stock, steers and heifers and so on, and fattens them for the Highland Beef mob. He wouldn't necessarily call himself a regenerative farm, but by God, he's doing some amazing things there that fall into that sort of those sort of practices. Very conscientious, great observer. Up there at Bingara, he's multi-generational farm, and he's an experimenter. He likes trying different things, and I think that's really important. He's curious. We had a lovely chat there. The rain did fall, so there might have been a few periods where it was a bit noisy, tumbling down. So can you hear Ange? We've got this black furry cat that lives in the shed, and she's a beautiful cat. I know cats aren't everyone's flavour of the month or the year, given they eat things, but she's a good at eating rats and mice, which I don't think anyone can argue we love. And so that's her yelling out for moo. And I've just seen a ute full of kids come back from moving sheep as well, so moving cattle, I mean, so I better wrap it up. Baden's awesome. Really lovely to get up there to see what he's doing, and what a humble bloke, and just really knows his stuff. He's got lots more to do, and his boys have come home as well, which is awesome. So they're sort of involved, and I think that's just a lovely thing to see. That a family and parents can sort of do what they love doing and create the opportunity for their children to come back and be part of that as well. And I think that's a real talent, because I'm sure there's many farmers who just do their farming and do their stuff, and consciously or otherwise, they're not necessarily making it something that the kids can choose to come back to, and that's fine too. No one says that has to happen, but I think it's just the way that Baden and his wife have just sort of, gone and done that, and it's a wonderful thing that the boys can come back and get involved in. Enough banging on about me and Baden. Now you are going to listen to the interview I did with Baden McDouall up at Bingara for the Regenerative Journey. Hope you enjoy. We're on. I just for a minute thought that green meant we were on, but I've forgotten. It's been a month since I did an interview again. We're on already. Baden, we are welcome to the Regenerative Journey, and welcome to your patio outdoor area. What do you call this little spot here?
Well, it's our relaxation area. Yeah, it's our patio.
Patio?
Veranda, overlooking some of our paddocks. North, looking north up down the Horton Valley.
Horton Valley.
So we're about halfway down the Horton Valley.
Oh, is that named after Mr. Horton or someone? Or Mrs. Horton?
It would have been. I'm not quite sure how Horton got its name, but it would have been someone Horton.
Yeah, you'd hope.
So the Horton River starts up at Mount Capitar and runs through our places and empties into the Guida River down at Gravesend.
Right.
And quite often floods more out.
This contributes to the flooding?
It does.
Yeah.
Very much, yeah. It's one of the fastest flowing rivers in New South Wales. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that because it's large catchment, flat area?
Yeah, large catchment, but it sort of drops from Mount Capitar's 1,200
right.
50 metres, I think, and spills, as the crow flies, it's probably 70 kilometres and spills down to the Guida at Gravesend at 300 metres.
Wow.
So it's a huge gradient.
Yep.
Very quick flowing river.
Bit of flow there.
Yep.
Do you get much time to relax out here? It might be your relaxation area, but
We do.
actually is it being mislabelled because you don't actually relax out here?
Oh, no.
You do?
Jen and I quite often come out here and have a beer in the afternoon and
Good.
just look out over things and do reflect and have a yarn. And
Bit of relax
I get my orders.
for the next day. And don't you muck around. You finish that beer and get on with it. So tell me, Baden, we're here. Is this your happy place? Are we looking at your happy place or bits of it? Are we getting? I got a good vibe about it all.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a look around before, which is lovely.
Yeah, it's a wonderful area. The Horton community is a great place to live. We've got a wonderful little clubhouse up at Horton there, sporting club.
All right.
It's the sort of focal point of our community, I guess.
Is it in a village or a town? Is there a Horton village or something?
Yeah, Upper Horton.
Okay.
So it's about 25 kilometres upstream. It has a great little club. It's tennis, cricket, rodeo. It was based on.
Yeah, cool.
I was involved with it for 25 years on the board in various representations, but cricket, and then president for 7 years at the end. But
So a strong community.
very strong,
Yeah.
very strong community. It's pretty rare these days. You know, I see a lot of things happen in other areas where you might have a mine move in and it destroys the local cricket club because they've had to buy up all the places around.
Right.
Horton, pretty tight knit. Great little area.
Is there much mine? Is the mine that's got in here somewhere?
No mines in the valley.
Is that because they've been beaten off, or there's nothing to mine here?
No, there's probably nothing. Well, there's coal deep down. It's in the Gunnedah Basin. Coal layer is under here, but it's so deep it's not worth mining. So most of the coal seems to lie on the other side of Mount Capitar around the Bogabri area.
Yes.
Gunnedah.
Yep.
Narrabri.
Yep.
Gas.
Yep.
Seems to lie under our good black soils.
Yeah.
But no, there's no mining in the Horton Valley. It's sort of been predominantly cattle for the last probably 5 decades.
Yep.
Since the 50s, or wool boom, I suppose. There was a lot of. My grandfather had sheep in the wool boom. But then they sort of crashed through the end of the 60s there, and cattle sort of took over, I guess, in the valley. There's still Kellys have got quite a few sheep up on the around the hillsides, wethers. They're sort of rather than sheer wethers, but in the 1970s, Mum and Dad started a small piggery, and they probably paid our way through boarding school, actually.
Yeah, right. The pigs, good old pigs.
Bit of cash flow, and they sort of have kept them going. It's fit into our operation pretty well. We can sort of cycle a compost back onto cropping pasture land. Grains go back through the piggery, and then obviously there's a spin-off there into the beef too, better pastures.
Yep. I want to get back to the compost because that's interesting. We did have a bit of a look at that. So tell me, you grew up here. Let's go back to day one, Baden.
So,
where did little Baden turn up in the world?
Born in Inverell.
Sapphire City.
Yeah, my grandparents had a farm at that stage at Tinga, between Tinga and Bingara. So Crystal Hill was the name of the place.
Oh yeah.
I was.
You know Kim Dean's over there. Kim Dean, Tim and Angus.
Actually, I consulted with Kim.
Oh yeah.
A couple of years ago. So we got a little regen ag group happening in the Horton Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So
Shelley McDouall, who's on the LLS and sort of she was talking to Kim, asked her whether she'd like to consult with a few people in the Regen Ag, Horton Regen Ag group. So Kim came and had a drive around with Kim for a few hours. And
good.
picked the brains a bit. Yeah.
Oh, good. Great. Yeah.
It was actually just after we purchased Pal. So I was sort of wanting to get her thoughts on a few things that were happening or not happening in our soils.
What did you, for those who weren't on the tour this morning with I and Baden, which is everyone, that's a newly acquired. Well, you've had it for a few years now. It's got 3-4 years.
Yeah, just post the drought. Pal came up for sale. It had been in the Mac family since probably 1840 or something. It was one of the biggest places in the Horton Valley at one stage. So they saw in the day they saw about 80,000 sheep went through the 20-stand wool shed down there. And
it's incredible.
Of course, like a lot of those big places over the years, got split up and various reasons. But they employed 100 people at one stage there.
On the farm.
Pal. Yep.
Oof, that's a big community, isn't it? Just
it is.
one
They had
place.
their own butcher shop and bakery, and
which was not unusual back then.
And Dera, which was the next big place, just across the creek. It basically went from the Pal boundary down to Gravesend. It was huge in its day too.
Gravesend being which direction? West?
So directly north.
North?
Down the valley, yeah.
Ah, right.
Pal, it used to run east and then almost back up to Piedmont,
Right.
which is up near Barber.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
and I think it sort of pretty much followed Pal Creek, which juts through the mountain over on our eastern side here. All the shepherds they'd have mobs of, say, 2,000 sheep each, and they'd bring them in and for shearing, and then this dip paddock, which is right next door to Lyndon, where Jen and I are.
So we're looking over there, the one that's got the crop in it?
Yeah, so that was divided up into like 50-acre paddocks, and the shepherds would bring in, say, 2,000 sheep each, and they would water them in turns. They'd take them down into the river to water them at night, and they'd just graduate closer and closer to the shed.
Ah.
And once they were shorn, they'd dip them, and then they'd take them back out.
So they had a dip. There's a dip somewhere. There was a dip set up somewhere.
That whole area there was called the dip paddock. So there's an actual old dip.
There's an old dip there. Wow. They'd have been using some pretty nasty things back. I guess back then, what would they have been using?
Probably
Arsenic. Yeah.
Arsenic was the flavour of the month at the time, I think.
It's probably all they had.
Yeah.
I guess it was a bit before all those other ones, Dildren and Diazinon.
Dildren came in after the arsenic, I think. Yeah.
They were pretty nasty, weren't they?
All bad.
So shepherds. So whilst the shepherds were working, they're one of the hundreds of 100 employees were shepherds. Some of them, and they each had their own flock.
Yeah.
And they would literally shepherd them through here, there, and everywhere, and then be responsible for everything about them. Where were they? Were they living in bloody little hoochie somewhere, or swag it?
They'd have the swag. They'd probably a couple of bits of corrugated iron up against a tree. It would be fairly rank living conditions, I would say, but that's the way it was.
And do you know if like the state of fencing? Because now we put them in a paddock and we go right. The shepherds are the fences.
Yep.
You know, was that because there was limited fencing and they keep them in an area?
They would have their own little area that they'd gravitate back out to. A lot of it would not have been fenced early on.
Not if it's as goes as east or as expansive as you were saying.
So they would have their own little valley, area.
Yeah, that's
there. They would have thought it would be easy to look after 2,000 sheep and try and. I guess they had the dogs.
Yeah. And they get, I guess that, with humans around them the whole time, there's some rapport, I guess, with the sheep and all those sort of good shepherding kind of things come into play, don't they?
They'd get to know every individual in that mob very well, I'd say.
Wouldn't they?
They'd know which ones are the rogues, which ones are going to...
Well, the rogues would end up in the pot. that'd be it. That's one way to call them.
Yeah. I'll give them,
Through
give
the
them to the
digestive.
squatters when they came through.
That's that's right. Barter them with their boss's sheep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
But there's a 20-stand wool shed, so they used to, in its day, in this area was a pretty big wool shed. So,
So I guess it is a real indication. 80,000 sheep.
I think the original Palau place was 180,000 acres.
Wow.
So,
And so we've just had a look at the homestead. Beautiful old brick homestead there.
yeah, all the bricks were made on the place. So they were old red brick. There was a brickworks up along Palau Creek. So all locally made, and there was a few houses that were built around the same time by the same builder. Gunamar is one, which is up north of Warialda. All the architecture is almost exactly the same, and the bricks and the way the bricks were laid. So obviously the same builder, and I believe he came from Moree, the builder. But yeah, and there's another one Munros have east of Bingara, up the Guida River, same vintage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, Sinclair Munro.
Ranald and Jane Munro.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Would be cousins.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, they're beautiful old houses, and they, as we were talking about before, I think they'll be still standing in 200 years' time, and I would imagine a lot of the kit homes they're building now, they might have 40 or 50 years in them.
That's it. This big one. You were saying when I got here, Baden, you were saying, a bit of dry feed around and lightning strike. I think, I don't know where that hit, fair way over there. I didn't count how many seconds there was between the lightning and the thunder, but I think we're reasonably safe given the couple of mils of rain you've had.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that too.
Well, look, as I said, I was having a chat with a big guy on the way in. I said, look, I reckon it looks a bit tad dry here. I'll see what I can bring with me.
Yeah, you sure you can't stay for the long?
No, I can't. I have to get going. But no, but that was great, mate. And thank you so much for that chat. That was awesome. I better go. Take the run with me. No, that's fascinating. I've just finished reading. We're so not on where I was meant to be right now in terms of our conversation, but it doesn't matter. I've just finished reading a book called Kings and Grass Castles by Mary Durack. It is fascinating, and I ask about the shepherds because they were essentially they had sheep up at in the Coopers Creek area. They pioneered that area, and they started with cattle and they brought sheep in, and then they went and drove a heap of cattle from there across up into the Kimberleys and opened up a lot of that country. But not dissimilar thing. But I mean, they went across the whole country with these cattle, but in terms of shepherding and doing the night shift and then there were stampedes, and then there was quite a few indigenous confrontations, and it was just fascinating the life that they led, and that was in the 1870s, 80s and 90s. It's sort of the period of the book. And it just makes you appreciate really what luxuries we have now,
They were wild times. They were hard times. I just finished reading a book called Too Young to Hold a Gun by Peter Spencer, and it was about a young fella by the name of Will Monkton who rode with Thunderbolt, the bushranger.
Oh, right.
And all their escapades. He was only 13, this young Monkton fella, and he has got a lot of family still in Bingara area.
Yep.
And one of his relations, one of this Will Monkton's sisters actually came with a Chinese cook that she'd married to Palau and was cooking there and died there. So he came into Palau following his ancestry basically and trying to work out, where she was buried and was there a gravestone. There's no gravestone there. There's a couple of gravestones on the hill there, but wow. He was tracing his history and he was going through all the time, those 1860s, 50s, 60s, 70s period when Thunderbolt was in this area. He actually held up my grandfather up at Ulam, original place up here. He
really?
Walked in and held him up and made him
in a homestead.
Yeah, walked in and made him sign a cheque, held a gun to him, and
really?
Which he did.
So when was that? What time would that have been?
That would have been 1860s in there.
So it was either Chappie Thunderbolt. He was at Walker there. Not Gary Walker. Is that not Walker? Uralla. That's the one. Thunderbolt's Rock.
Yeah. Yep. So
he used to get around a bit.
He was all through this Nandywall range. He used to anywhere between Gunnaganoo Station, pretty much, and Yetman, and all through the tablelands in between, and all through the Nandywall range, which runs through here. So that was his play area.
It's a fair stretch of country between Yetman and Gunnaganoo, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
To cover.
He used to steal thoroughbred horses, the best thoroughbred horses he could find from landholders.
Yeah.
He had a really good eye for top thoroughbred horses, and that's how he kept away from the troopers.
Because he was on good fast horses.
Yep.
Is that right?
So,
sneaky.
But
Gee
it was
whiz.
hard living with hard times, the way he lived.
Oh, well, he would have been.
All the time.
He wouldn't have been at 10 because he'd have to have a bit of canvas.
Yeah.
Might put your socks on there, I think, Baden, just in case. That wind might just come up. Just pop it over there. I don't know, fold the back on itself. So that should be fine. One might think that makes it muffled, but it doesn't somehow. I don't know how it works, but it'd still be fine. Hopefully that's not muffled. It's a pretty thick sock, that one. So tell me, back to, you're born in Inverell.
Yeah, so born in Inverell. Attended the mighty Horton Public School.
Yeah.
Which had, I think, at its peak, had about 30 kids. It closed down in early 70s. Then I went to Cranbrook in Sydney, boarding school for 6 years.
I'm sorry about that.
Had a
I'm a King's boy, so I have to give you shit about that. Gee, it looks amazing then, like the whole what they've done. We don't have to go into that, but it's incredible facilities there now.
Yeah. I don't think borders, like when I was down there, 90% of the borders were all country blokes.
Yes.
And now I think there's only really...
They wouldn't have many.
40 or 50 borders left, and most of them are sort of, I think, Asian...
Internationals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is a bit sad, but anyway, it's the way to go. And co-ed too, and obviously catering for all the local eastern suburbs kids, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, totally. No, incredible. Yes, they did your time down there. Did your hard labour there?
Did a time down there, and whilst I enjoyed it, I got to realise that the city really wasn't for me at that point, I reckon.
And just before we go there, so you grew up. Where was the home you grew up in?
So up at Guy, which is the place up the river here towards Horton.
Right.
My young fella Will and his fiancée Georgie are up there, and Dad's up there in his house still.
Right.
So he commutes between Bingara and house on the farm up there.
Yep.
So we had a unreal childhood. Like we were always out there, mucking around with cricket bat and ball in the yard, and my sport was always the pinnacle. I was never hugely scholastic, but I just loved it. I threw myself into sports, cricket, and in those days, Horton, there was no rugby union or league, so it was soccer. So we had our little Horton soccer side, and we go into Baden and get smashed every so often. But
what about polo? Is there polo up here?
No, not in the valley. There's I think some mates of mine going around Corindi, that area. There's pretty big.
Bit more of that, more right.
I was never a horseman either, so I was always motorbikes.
Yep.
Dad used to ride horses at school, go to Horton all the time. But I never got into the horses. Then Cranbrook came along, we went to Cranbrook there. I got out of the soccer, started playing rugby union. In our boarding house, you could either play soccer, and get your head beaten in the boarding house for 7 days a week, or you could go out and play rugby union for an hour and get your head beaten in on the football field for an hour. So it was a no-brainer.
Well, you get your head beaten because you were playing soccer, like that was the thing, was it?
Yeah, soccer wasn't it.
No, that's right.
Which was good because when I eventually did come home, I played a lot of rugby union for Barber then, so that was good. But yes, I just passed the HSC, but that's about as
Yeah.
I won't say I thrived.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Came home for a year and then went to Orange Ag for 2 years.
Yep.
Did farm management course down there. Did a few weeks down your way on the.
Oh, you said that. That's right.
Chappie Reed's place down there.
Yep.
On the Barrel River.
Burra River.
At Burra, yeah. Did a little bit of drenching, mustering cattle down there, poisoning rabbits. With 1080.
Oh yeah, 1080. Yeah, right.
Little barrel behind a tractor.
Oh, so that was. Were they pellets down the burrows?
Carrots. They were carrots.
Oh, right.
Chopped up carrots. So they had to. You'd feed the carrots out for 3 days, just
plain, yes, and then you'd give them the one with the wow.
Had a little bit of a mishap with their tractor actually. They parked it up the hill, probably 600 or 700 metres up off the river flat, and it was an old Fordson or something like that. Anyway, pulled the handbrake on, but you needed about 3 or 4 hands to pull the handbrake.
Oh, I don't get it to work. Oh no, it went down the hill.
Anyway, I was.
Were you on
there.
it?
Yeah, no, it was parked there. We left it there. Mr. Reed picked me up, old chappie.
No.
The next day, we went back up to get the tractor, and it wasn't there. And it had wound its way back down through the fence a couple of times and rested down on the Burrell River flat.
So had it tumbled or it had rolled itself?
No, just weaved its way down.
Oh, that's lucky, because some of that country that I'm thinking of there's some steep sections there where I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway, the tractors lived to see another day.
Or the retensioning of the buck brake. Yeah, right.
But, so I guess, at Orange Ag, we learnt a lot of what today we would see as bad habits. We came out of there with a few things in our toolbox that today you wouldn't even have in your toolbox at all. I don't know what I'm talking about it before. Urea was one of them. Group B herbicides started becoming a thing, like your gleans and all that sort of thing. So we left Orange and came back home again. And I started farming, and we were getting amazing yields. We won a couple of Northern Slopes wheat competitions, 3 tonne of the acre sort of wheat crops.
So you, having been to Orange Ag and learnt some stuff, you applied that at home, threw on the urea and this and that, and there was a response.
Yep.
Yeah.
Massive.
And so you were going, oh, this is the way to go. This works.
And it worked for probably 10 years, 12 years. So we were pre-planting urea, probably 120 kilos of urea pre-plant before a wheat crop.
You were just broad acre, like just spreading.
Acre, yep.
And then you go in.
With a gyral, pre-planted, direct drill it in basically.
Oh, direct, okay.
And weed at the same time. Roundup was just starting to become a thing. So we started using Roundup. We sort of went to minimum till through the early 90s there. We were still getting really good yields, rotating with lucerne too. So lucerne was putting huge amounts of N in the ground as well.
On short rotations?
Yeah, so lucerne would be 5-6 years,
okay.
and then back to wheat, barley. But the country, you could see it was starting to get harder, starting to get tired. Yields plateaued. sort of mid-90s there, I reckon. So the yields plateaued out, and I started to scratch my head, and I said, look, what are we achieving here? What are we doing? I was sort of starting to lose heart with agriculture in general. I said, we can't keep doing this, we've been trained to do it that way. And I think a lot of the big chemical companies were sponsoring universities and colleges, and still are now. Anyway, towards the end of the 90s there, 99, probably early 2000s, we went to direct drill. So prior to that, we had no points that we could do it with, like physically dig our harder ground. So all the blokes out west in the black soils were using discs and this sort of thing in their softer self-mulching soils. But here it was only early 2000s that we actually were able to get hold of these points, these little narrow tiered spear points that we could put on our trash worker.
Yep. Yeah.
And
your John Deere trash worker. Yeah. 27 run.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, I got one. It's now 21.
We converted it to a direct drill machine with a toe-behind air seeder.
Yep.
And our country slowly got softer again. You could feel like we were coming back down through the gears, and our tractor, the country was starting to respond just from keeping more humus on top, like stubbles and things on top, rather than dragging these wide points across our country all the time, which we've been doing for years, and turning up our sodic layer underneath.
Big disturbances.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So were you ploughing with this, or you scarifying, or there was a lot of whatever you were using was a lot of disturbance?
Yeah, we were going over back in 70s, 80s. We were going over our country with our wide sweep points on a trash worker 5 times.
Jeez.
Before the advent of Roundup.
Yeah.
So we were doing.
And that was for weed control.
That was weed control.
Yeah.
And this country, it's got quite a sodic layer underneath, and if you bring that, it's like when you push a contour bank, that sodic stuff comes up on top, and the contour bank sheds water.
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's the same. We're dragging these heavy machines across the country in this shallow country, and we're dragging that sodic stuff
mixing
on
the
top,
layers. Yep.
and it started to shed water, and So the direct drills stopped all that. It slowed our carbon depletion down, I guess. But we were still depleting it. And even now, I'm talking to certain soil scientists, they're saying we can't yet put carbon into our soils cropping.
Very challenging.
Having said that, there's a crew called Lone Bio, who I think based in Dubbo. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, Mick Wettenhall and Guy Webb.
I'm going to have a meeting with them because they say that they can, with barley, canola and sorghum, they can actually, using it must be a fungal seed treatment, can put carbon back in there, just cropping in the cropping system. And if that's the case, if it's right, well, I think that'll change. That'll get a big game changer.
Well, that's an interesting story, which I don't know all the details, but I've interviewed Mick for the podcast a couple of years ago, and very interesting story of acquiring, I guess it's acquiring the rights, or certainly getting their hands on, to be able to use and isolate the fungi that a chappie academic researcher did years ago, but no one took much interest because he's getting some amazing results on how this fungi was accelerating the sequestration of carbon in soil somehow. And I don't know all the science behind it, but it's fascinating. And they've raised a lot of money for research, and they've got a not-for-profit sort of side and a for-profit side. And that'll be interesting to use that, because I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yep, I think most of our soils are bacteria dominant. If we can get more fungi in there. It's,
Well, I guess this has all been like what we're looking at here, where you're doing your cropping, or most people do their cropping. It's grass based, it's pasture based, and so no doubt there's a lot of bacteria, dominant kind of thing, and dare I say out of balance. What is the perfect balance? I don't know, but I think that's probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, talking to one of their agronomists at Lone Bio, that they're going to try and develop fungal seed treatments for pastures as well. So
Yeah, well, that'd be smart.
yeah,
So just back to, so when you're a boy running around doing your stuff, not riding horses and riding motorbikes and enjoying farming playground, and then doing uni and bringing back what you learned here, how did your father take that you blokes coming, all you smarty pants has been at university, bringing this stuff back? Was it very different to what he'd been doing anyway? Was he challenged by your crazy new ideas?
I was very lucky to have Dad Arthur was the father, because he used to let me take the rein a fair bit, and I had a lot of friends that not so lucky. Their fathers would stand over with a whip and they wanted to try and change or do something, and the father was so dominant and the place ended up going out the back door. But no, Dad was always sort of, he's always one to ask questions too, like, where are we headed? Why are we going this way? He could see quite often if he didn't agree, if I planted the seed and he thought about it for a little while, he could see the advantages and let me run with it. And it's
all about the language and the approach, isn't
it?
Yeah,
yeah. And I was sort of made a lot of mistakes, but that's how we learn. So I sort of try and do it with Will and Daniel too, who have decided to come back home now too. And you got to let them run with their ideas, and guide them a little bit, but they've got to be allowed to make mistakes too.
Well, that's very good, isn't it? Like, that's a very endearing quality as a father or a mother or anyone with children, or even a work situation, employer, because that's where they're going to learn.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't say "I told you so," then it kind of it'll settle in there, and that's often the best way to learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have they just while we're on the boys, did they go to uni? Have they come back with even crazier ideas than you and challenge you with things?
I think they both went to Armidale Uni, did ag science type degrees.
What college are they in?
So they're at Albies.
Oh yeah, good choppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great institution, that one.
Yeah. I was in Rob, so we were always at each other. We were the stroppers and they were the choppers. Classic. What's happened here?
I had them.
Oh, bloody hell. Not now. I checked that. I checked that thing. Not now. Oh, what a pain in the butt. Have you got storage on your phone? You reckon?
I think I do.
Because I checked my phone on the way here and it said I had plenty of storage on my phone. That's a bloody nuisance. If I see if I can record on your phone,
Yep.
we'll work out how to get it off.
All right.
Because my Michelle can get in touch and try and work it out. Or one of your boys to be smart enough.
Yeah, well, I certainly wouldn't be, but Jen might have some idea, and the boys definitely would have an idea.
Oh, right. Well, I tell you, I reckon...
How do you check how much stuff?
Oh, hang on. Bear with me, everyone. We're just going to have a little quick look here. Settings, you go to General, and you go to Phone Storage. Oh, yeah. 45 of 64.
Yep. got 10 gigabytes.
Yeah.
20 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's right. So is that cool? If we rig yours up, now that means that's not recording either. So what we'll do, we'll slip that out.
That's still on.
Yeah, on the airplane.
Airplane.
Okay, we'll pop that off there. Oh, thought I had that bloody covered too. And we'll plug yours in. Just pop her onto. She's on the airplane. Looks like it. Yep, that's it. Yeah, so actually, yeah.
You've got to stay on airplane, does it?
No, yeah, stay on the airplane. We'll pop that on there. We'll pop that on. Where's your bloody? This is here we go. That one. Video. Turn it around. Look at that.
Beautiful.
It's a bit fuzzy, but that'll do. That's better. Sorry about that. There we are. We're underway again now.
No worries.
Where were we? You're saying the boys were going to...
So they did ag science up there. And
very science-based course. That very, yeah.
Actually, Will's was called Agri-Foods. It was... a little bit different, but it basically similar units. What astounded me, like the boys, like at that point in time, when the boys were up, I was starting to get into this regenerative stuff a bit, and they could see. First thing I asked Daniel when he got back, I said, "How much biological agriculture did you do up there? You know, can you show me your notes?" And anyway, one paragraph. That was all. You know, in an ag science degree, I'm going
3 years ag science.
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And I don't know whether they've gone down that path yet. I know. I think there's one university. What's it called?
Lismore.
Southern Cross.
Yeah, Southern Cross. Yeah, they got their rural.
I think it's got regenerative units there now, so which is good to see.
Yeah, it's a science degree majoring in regenerative ag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the boys sort of could see what we were trying to do, get away from as much as possible the chemical ag, the chemical age, I suppose.
Yep.
And try and move more into regenerative, focusing on our soils a bit more. And it's just such an interesting sphere. We don't know anything about it yet. We're learning still. What happens under the ground with fungi and bacteria and the interrelationship between plants and how they talk to one another and whatnot. We know nothing about it yet. And I've just seen since we've been going down that path, we've just seen improvements in our country from where we were, or when I came back out of Orange Ag. Anyway, there's some massive improvements in the country, and it takes 5 or 6 years. You can't. There's no big upfront. Oh wow, look at that!
Yeah. Immediate. Yeah.
Immediate effect. It's not like where you can go and put 200 kilos of urea on a crop and all of a sudden it goes dark green. Biological agriculture is a slow. It's more slow. It's a slower thing. To look at, probably unimpressive, but then all of a sudden, after about 5 years, you start seeing your soil start to cycle, your plants starting to cycle. We look at weeds now as a positive thing, probably, rather than negative. Like rather than try and go and torch everything, try and get a pretty looking oats crop or whatever.
In the front paddock there. Make sure it's got no bloody weeds, no thistles.
Yeah, that's right. We're sort of asking ourselves, why are those weeds growing there? What's going on that soil? They're more of an indicator of what's going on in the soil rather than trying to get a pretty pasture or crop growing there. The weeds can tell you a lot. And cattle will do a lot better on a dirty pasture quite often than a really clean they won't scour. They'll nibble leaves from different weeds. They're getting, different minerals from different weeds, so that their guts are healthier. It's just we've got to change your mindset.
Well, it's interesting you say dirty. So and in that context, the word dirty is it's got weeds, it's got everything in it, it's got this, it's got that, as opposed to, I imagine when you were your lucerne paddocks, when you're doing lucerne, you probably try and keep them pretty clean, right? So lucerne, no grasses.
No, we don't. Oh, we used to.
Back then, that's right. Yeah, like you wouldn't want the neighbours seeing any grass in your lucerne paddock.
Yeah. So you'd spray barley grass out of it, or
yes.
ryegrass out of it, or something. Yeah, to get a cleaner stand. Well,
yep. Or put broadleaf sprays in there and concoctions to try and get some of the other broadleaf weeds out, which would end up just wiping out some of your. You'd get attrition of your lucerne anyway, so you're kind of defeating the purpose.
That's right. All the brews, 2,4-D, bees and diarods, and we'd go over all our country to take out thistles.
MCPA.
Yep. These days, we'll use that in a crop. And even now, we're sort of starting to toy with the idea of growing two crops together, like rather than a mono crop. Next year, we're going to try canola and faba beans together.
Yep.
Just to get that diversity of root systems back in the ground. There's been a few blokes try it, and they're getting yields equivalent to as if they grew those crops apart. So the canola and faba beans, they're getting the same yields as if they were growing them separately.
Wow, and so the faba beans are supplying nitrogen to the canola, and there's deep tap roots of the canola, so they're all combining to do something well. And can you harvest them?
So
like faba beans to be lower
together.
All right.
And we just purchased a little seed cleaner the other day, so it's just a matter of running across the seed cleaner, separating them.
So then, because in canola traditionally, and I guess you probably used to do it up here, or do like windrow first and then wait and then harvest. So there's no windrowing.
We just we've always direct headed out.
Oh, okay.
Canola.
Yeah, right.
So.
So you let it sit on there. You let it stand for a little bit longer, let it dry as is, and then just whip it. Yeah, right.
We haven't got the machine. We haven't got the windrower. There's blokes around with the windrowers. We haven't got the pickup heads for the headers. Well, my cousin does our contract harvesting,
right.
So he hasn't got that gear. So we just run with open front, just direct head. So all that sort of stuff. Back to the weeds thing. Horton Valley cattle have always claimed a premium in the yards because they dress better than a lot of other cattle from other areas.
Why is that?
So, I think it's the weeds thing.
The diversity of diet.
And even when we had an oats crop that we'd sprayed all the weeds out of, that oats crop, there's probably a gully running through it with weeds in it. And if you see the way they graze cattle, they're always, they'll go to the oats and they'll come out and have a pick around along the gully's edge, bit of fibre, bit of old grass, bit of clover, bit of a weed. And the Horton Valley it's got every weed known to man in it.
Yeah, which through a change of attitude has become a
plus.
Real plus.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
So
what would your neighbours think about that conversation we're just having about weeds being, useful and
a
nutritious?
lot of them are in this regen ag group. So
okay.
Jason Mack over here, I talk about it all the time. It's to the point where St John's wort, we'll spray St John's wort. Jason Mack discovered a few years ago he put some Canterbury Master 10 with the graze on that he was spraying the wort with, so that whatever that wort was trying to bring up out of the soil, he thought, well, if we put some Canterbury Master 10, which has got 10 minerals in it, put it out with the graze on. Next year, that seed from the St John's wort may not like that environment because it's got all those minerals in it. So he put something in a boom spray and he did a paddock with it. And the following year, it went from nearly blanket St John's wort back to spot spraying the old one.
Well, you by doing that, you've made that weed redundant.
Yeah,
It doesn't need to be there anymore because
right.
you've put on the minerals or the elements or the whatever that it was trying to accumulate.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And I've seen it work a little bit with blue heliotrope too. Similar thing. So,
Do you know what it's trying to accumulate?
I know it's full of copper.
Ah.
And this country can be low in copper.
Yeah.
So that's why it's there, but it loves a bare ground, loves leached, sandy river country too. So this leaching thing in our environment, if you look at it's a bit the Peter Andrews sort of mentality thing, like our ridges is always leaching, seems to be leaching away from our ridge country. Quite often you'll get weeds growing up in that country trying to bring up whatever mineral they can. There's a flat top hill just down the valley here, and it's no trees on it at all at the top, and it's just a mat of St John's wort. So whatever St John's wort's trying to bring up, it's trying to replace probably what bird droppings and cattle, you know what I mean? Cattle,
right.
On top of that hill, because there's no trees there.
There's no circulation of minerals or anything there. Yeah, that's a good observation.
And I found that with compost, a piggery compost. You can go into a paddock and put compost on a bare hill. Not very much, just a light scattering of it. And within 2 or 3 years, it'll have completely grassed up.
Well, it is like a fertility reservoir there.
Yeah.
Do you put seed, when you throw your compost out, do you put seed in there as well? I brought it.
Haven't done that yet, but there's it's an option, isn't it?
Yeah, we've done that with cocksfoot and a few things before.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a thing to mix it up. If you got to, depends on what year you got to sort of put it from the pile into the spreader and that sort of thing. It can be done because But do you need more diversity here? I imagine. I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't want more diversity.
I think everyone needs more diversity. I think one thing we do have in this valley is massive amounts of bird life.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You
can hear a few at the moment. What are those over there in that? Is that an ironbark there? That one dark one?
That's a narrowleaf ironbark. Yeah.
Flowering.
So we actually get
Parrots?
lorikeets come into there sometimes. Crimson wings come into it. Not quite sure what those ones are.
There's a bit about cockies.
Yeah.
Kookaburras before.
Kookaburras, we've got every parrot known to man. We rarely grow sorghum. Sorghum's not that good for your country anyways, but the times we have grown it, the few times we have grown it, it just got decimated. We've got just about every parrot in Australia.
They all come to the Horton Valley to eat.
They love
to eat sorghum. Just back to the, I guess that. So you were saying you were lucky. Your father was kind of quite open to you experimenting, changing things, and you did. Was he pleased with the results? Did he go? Was that something that he acknowledged that there was, or not? Or
yeah, well, as I said, when we coming back out of ag college there at the age of I was 21 or 2 or something, and started using the ureas. We started winning weed competition. Dad thought it was great.
Right.
We were, I suppose we're trying to do it right, but we were doing wrong. Looking back, we'd been trained to do it that way. It worked for a little while, but in our light soils here, couldn't do it for too long. So we started burning carbon. Little did we know that at the time, but So now we're at a point where we're trying to go the other way, get carbon back in there, by whatever means possible.
And are you measuring that? Do you do soil testing? You're saying you do a lot of leaf testing, but are you doing soil testing?
Soil tests.
Do you know where your carbon's up to?
Yeah, it's about 1.5%.
Right.
Most of our soil tests.
Have you seen an increase over a period of time? Is it sort of...
Haven't done a lot of soil testing in our subtropical grass paddocks, which I think would surely be starting to show increases in carbon content in the last 7, 8, 9 years that we've had those deep-rooted perennials in some of our lighter countries. We probably need to do that. As far as benchmarking our carbon, I just don't know where to go in that space yet. I think there's a lot of people in the hierarchy that are benefiting rather than the farmer at this point. But so I just don't. We've got to investigate that carbon sequestration and the payment side of it. But I just think we need to put through better grazing techniques, more subdivision, using perennial grasses, deep-rooted perennial grasses. If we can do that and do it right, then we're on the right track, I reckon.
It's a good point that, I think it's healthy to look at the carbon situation and research and get, sort of keep abreast of what's going on. I think the trap can be making it the focus, because you might get a result, but, as you're saying, Baden, by getting your grazing management right or, increasing biodiversity and all the things you're doing, the result will be increasing your carbon, I suspect, and so that's, so whilst you're doing good things for the environment, less chemical, better water infiltration, better produce, better quality, stuff you're producing, whether that be grass or beef or pigs or whatever, that's you as a farmer's job at the end of the day. And if you can increase carbon and then you leverage that, well, that's great too, if that's where you want to take it.
And it comes down, to producing, as you know, high integrity food. We've got so much, seems more and more disease, cancers and this sort of thing in the human population now. And you can't tell me a lot of it's because, obviously there's a lot of bad food out there, but the produce coming off farms compared to what, when agriculture, farming first started back in the 30s, 20s, the produce then would have been way better on a nutrient analysis. Having said that, we've just leaf tested a lot of our crops and they're pretty balanced. They're, so if the crops and the pastures are balanced, then you'd have to think that the beef and the pork, the grain that's going back into the piggery, is good quality, well balanced, and hopefully that transfers into our beef and pork.
Well, it's not a coincidence that what we eat as humans, impacts how we think and how we feel and how we operate and behave. Really, I mean, pigs and cattle and sheep, they're all mammals too. So and you don't have to be a mammal for that to be true, but. We're great examples of, the better the food that we eat, the more diverse and the more nutrient dense and the less of the chemical load in it, the better we are. In every facet you can pick. And you're absolutely right, cattle, the same thing. Which leads me to Highland Beef, who you have been a farming client, member of their team for a few years now.
Yeah, it'd be 2.5 years, I think. Straight after the drought, 2020, Russell Smythe, local agent in Bingara, came to me and said, I might have an option if you want restock a bit more. And so Murray Richardson, Tony Spears came from Reading.
Yep.
I looked at their model. Seemed to be a pretty sound model.
Did Jenny make some quiche for them like she did today? Maybe that's what got them over the line, that quiche.
She did.
She did?
A cup of coffee.
That was
quiche,
a secret.
And then a beer afterwards.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or two.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah, good. So they had a look around, sussed you out, you sussed them out.
I had a long talk to Murray, in regards to what we were trying to achieve here in the regen space, and it seemed to fit. We obviously needed more mouths. It was lower, and obviously at that point in time, cattle market was starting to climb pretty quickly, and we'd already purchased 360 Brahman heifers or something, so our reserves were pretty much
yep.
at the bottom, and we just had an explosion of feed because the country there's that much nitrogen in the country. There's a hangover from that drought. It was just exploded. So anyway, we've been with them ever since. It's a good model, and we're trying to produce that clean, high nutrient beef. Clean grass-fed beef, which obviously America is clamouring for.
Totally, and traceable too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, all traceable.
Because over there, there's not the beef is not very traceable. And I think that you're right. That's what they also like, is the fact that there's integrity to it through its traceability.
That's right. And obviously tracing it back to us.
Yeah.
So but the model is a great model. I think at that point in time, we needed more mouths because we just wanted to obviously rotate the country. There was a huge amount of biomass on it, and so it worked in well with the operation, and has done since. So,
have you sold any weaners to the boys as from here and just kept them? Have you got the sort of cattle that you could sell?
Yeah, we have. So we actually sold some of our own Angus, Brangus. Cattle last year, yearling. They would have been 18 months old.
And did they stay here? You sold them and then they stayed here, or you sold them and then they went?
Actually sold them straight into Highland Beef, into the abattoir.
Oh right, okay, I'm with you. Right, I'm with you. Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So they've been doing a bit of that when they haven't quite got the numbers around them.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, right. So I've done a couple of loads like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly have been the ones they've purchased though.
And they've put on here. You looked after.
Yeah, generally here for around about 12 months, I suppose. Mostly come in around that 280, 300 kilos. Turn them off anywhere between 500 and 650.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's basically, and I think they've sort of learned on the way through too. Some cattle have come in here, and they will not ever fatten. Come out of Queensland and they're
not doing
big rangy crossbred steers, and couldn't get any fat on them at all. But had to go. But I've said they're sort of back more British content now.
Yes. They change their specs a little bit. And we were talking about challenges before, just the what I think the boys do well is to juggle, commodity prices they're buying stock for, and that's what's the situation for farmers in terms of their, what the market is asking them to pay for cattle, and then they've got a changing season, things are pretty dry up north, and they've got a big range of, I guess, places to source from. What challenges do you see that for them in juggling that sort of changing variables? I guess the markets, the season.
I think the big challenge for Highland beef is probably going to, if we go into a big drought like we went through in 2019-20, and all the eastern states go in together, it's probably going to be kill space. Because there'll be a lot of farmers trying to destock quickly. I think that's probably the biggest challenge I can see in the model. From where I sit, Murray might have a different, Tony might have a different look on that, but I'm sort of like, we deliberately didn't stock as hard this year because we've had 3 wet years in a row, which is highly unusual. So knowing that we'd probably have a drier than normal year, so we didn't go as hard. But I think that will be one of the big problems down the track. Hopefully we won't get another drought like that in my lifetime. But
I think what I was thinking of before was, we'll have, well, maybe not as big a drought, but certainly drier spells. I think what then opens up the opportunity in a very positive way for Highland beef is that they represent, if people have got limited capital at the end of a drought because they've used it up for conserving fodder or buying fodder or whatever they're doing, I guess Highland beef gives people the opportunity to get back in the market, as you did in the end of the last drought, where you might have been a bit tapped out yourself, but they were able to supply animals on the backside of a drought. Oh, you're on low power mode. I know, we're right. It didn't. We've got all sorts of tech stuff going on here. Yeah, so whilst it might be challenging for them, and it is, I guess, their role to juggle the throughput. What that does represent is an opportunity for restocking without people putting up the capital and finding the capital. They can put some aside to buy their own animals, but if that's not going to be enough to sort of stock their place, they can get Highland beef mouths on, and there's not that risk of price fluctuation at the other end, or getting in the first place. They're not hampered by, well, I run out of money, but I've got a heap of grass.
Yep.
Which you'd argue might get wasted.
Yeah, definitely.
Without that.
Well, it's definitely lower risk for the farmer. So he's taking all that price risk out, and they've just upped their price to the farmer too. The guinea cattle going on to places now is $2 a kilo, which is very good, and I guess with the inflationary pressures at the moment, that probably needed to happen a little bit too.
Well, I think it was probably the right response to everything that's going on, and good that it has.
It has. It was good. It's certainly, from a farmer's perspective anyway, it's certainly taken the risk out of the equation.
And how do you run yours? I mean, I guess it's the same management. It's cattle in your landscape. You're running them separately.
We try and run them separately as much as possible. There's times when we might need a paddock to finish some of ours, so we'll put a few of ours with them.
Yeah,
but that's about the only time.
Yep.
Otherwise, like being young, growing stock, Linden, we're pretty much set up for fattening on Linden. So with Parallel just coming online there now, we've been growing them out down there, and when they're sort of getting close to the marketing stage, we'll bring them up here and finish them.
Yep.
So that's the way it's working at the moment.
Yep.
As Parallel soils improve, there's probably scope to bring a few more on, because I do have some Brahman cows down there on the native stuff. But as these pastures start to improve and the soil starts cycling properly, and pale ale will probably up our numbers. Yeah.
And for anyone considering getting on board, what sort of things, what did you consider when you started back in 2020? What were you considering? What questions did you ask, and what did you consider? How did it have to fit into your system here? Obviously, you wanted it to fit in simply. You didn't want to sort of complicate management a hell of a lot. But what sort of things did you have to tick off in your little checklist of reassurances?
Yeah, I guess I kept in contact with Murray quite often in regards to how the market was going in the States, whether they'd bedded it down well, properly. It wasn't going to be a fly-by-night sort of thing. But as time went on, Murray has assured me that they couldn't get enough of it. The risk side was a no-brainer coming out of the drought. And obviously our resources were pretty limited, so it took all the risk, because the cattle market at that stage was going through the roof, starting to go through the roof, and we didn't know when that was going to come down, or if it had come down. It took a lot longer to come back than I expected. Not that I wanted it to come back, but we knew it was in uncharted territory, and these things go in cycles, so that it was going to have to come down at some point in time, and it's come down with a thud now. But so that risk of, in our case, we bought the Brahman heifers quite well, but the last 2 years I've dabbled in a couple of little lots of steers and really didn't make a lot of money out of them. So because the market tanked, but we sort of I've tried to be patient, keep out of the market, which has worked pretty well. But so I think now that they've got their American starting to get up and running too. So they've got places over there that are the American. What's his name? They had a buyer out here the other day that's going to run their American operations.
Oh, right, okay. As in source grass fed from over there. Yeah, right.
Yep. So he's lining up places over there now.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
So that's obviously going to solidify the whole business model operation too. So.
Yep. And tell me about weather, because seasons and market, and we were talking about weather before. I was interested to hear about your I wouldn't suggest you rely on, but someone, some weather predictions that someone you tap into, that you were, you kind of put some credence on. What's the chappie's name?
David Burton is his real name. He's based up on the Gold Coast, and he's got a Facebook site since about 2016. He goes on planetary positions and forecasting how our weather systems respond to certain angles of the planets to the Earth, and he's been pretty close to the money. So he forecast the drought 2018, 19, 20 drought back in 2008. So he writing for a magazine. I can't remember that. It's like a financial magazine. But he wrote an article back in 2008 to say that every farmer needed to be out of debt by 2018-19. We're going to the biggest drought we've ever seen. He's also printed a forecast out to 2075 of where our droughts are going to be, where our floods are going to be, what's going to be an average year, and it's pretty much like on a global scale. Like a lot of times floods will come together around the world and whatnot. But he reckons our next flood is going to be 2025, end of 2025, 26 in there. And he reckons the ones we've just seen are puddles. And our next drought is 2032.
Really? So you got onto the Telegram group.
Yeah.
Telegraph. Telegram. And he is, which is Inigo Jones.
Inigo Jones.
So he's sort of taken over from Inigo Jones's.
He went to a library. I'm not sure which library it was, but he got hold of all Inigo Jones because Inigo Jones's family put his records into a library.
Yeah, right.
And this David Burton got hold of them. He's also W.D. Garn, who was a big markets forecaster in the States years ago. He did a lot of his work on planetary cycles and forecasting markets.
Cyclic kind of, yeah, right.
Got hold of all that sort of stuff, and he sort of researched all this, and he's pretty close.
So where does one find that? You said that you'd sort of basically put together a bit of a, over the next few decades, a run of what he predicted things to be. Where does one find his? Has he got a website?
Yeah, if you actually go onto his Facebook page and go back as far as you can, he's actually posted it on there a few times.
Right. David Burton. There you go.
Yeah, so Indigo Jones, long-term weather forecaster on the Facebook.
Yep.
But, yeah, so in 2017 I started came across him. And
we're in 2014.
2017.
17, right.
And he was saying at that stage, we're going in for a dry summer. Whatever you do, don't plant anything. It's going to be a waste of time. And the Weather Bureau were forecasting a La Nina, a wetter than average summer in 2017. So anyway, on the Weather Bureau's recommendation, we planted some soybeans here on about 25 mils of rain in November, and it didn't come to anything.
November 2017.
Yeah.
Yep.
November 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't rain for 6 months. I think we got a little bit 2018 at the middle there, and then we went into the 2019, and it was just shocking. So we had 2 years back to back here, and they were our worst rainfall from 1885. We've got records at Pallel here.
Yeah.
2018 was our worst on record. That's right. 2018 was the worst on record, and 2019 was our third worst.
Yeah. So back to back.
Back to back.
Gee whiz, that's pretty ordinary, isn't it?
So we were sort of in the guts of it.
So what I was pleased to hear, not that I'm going to go and change my plans too much, but interesting to hear that he was suggesting that we'd get rain again in November, there'd be sort of stormy activity, and whether it's a normal spring or just a stormy spring, I don't know. But then, November may be a wet. Well, I mean, it'd be incredible if it was another wet summer.
Yeah,
that'd be just 4 in a row.
Yep.
Which was unheard of.
Well, it was quite dry here last summer.
Well, that's true. We stopped raining in December.
He actually forecast a minor drought in January 2023, which here we were. It was dry.
Yes.
But so stormy for September, October. If you get under one, you're lucky. You'll be lucky because it's going to be drier than normal. And then
right
from 11th of November onwards, this year he says it's going to get wetter.
Get wetter. Yeah, that's good. Well, this is interesting. He might be running sort of counter to the Bureau by the sounds of it, when the Bureau is saying it's going to be pretty dry.
Yeah.
Which is, it's interesting. I guess that's their job. Their job is to forecast, and a lot of people. There's a lot of pessimism at the moment, isn't there, in the agriculture about the season? And look, there are lots of things to make people that way. Interest rates going up, inflation. We've had so many good years. Yes, there's been a few dry months here and there, but we've had some really wet years. We're due for a dry one again. There's so many things suggesting it's going to be dry from a weather point of view, but also that it's going to be pretty ordinary. You know, cattle prices are down and sheep prices are down and everything's down. There's not a hell of a lot to be excited about.
No, I think
at the moment, is there?
No, I think that a lot of people are nervous, and why wouldn't you? Coming out of the big drought a few years ago,
it's still you know, people are still recovering from that.
I think, you know, whilst there's quite a few more cattle numbers around, people still haven't restocked, and then they've sort of got halfway into the rebuild stage, and then it's got dry again. So.
And maybe they didn't restock with their breed, you know, like they sort of might have done a bit of trading to get some quick mouths on and quick mouths off, and so maybe the breeding, the restocking of the whole breeding, from a purely numbers point of view, I don't know, but that might make some sense. And but still, for those who did restock at probably pretty high prices,
yeah,
they're looking down the barrel of they're half the value now. Yeah, so they're hurting. They gave restocking a crack.
Yep. And a lot of them borrowed money to do it.
Totally.
Yeah. So.
And now they're worth half. The half of that's gone.
Yeah. So you got the market and the interest rates going against them. Their confidence is not there. But
it's waning.
Certainly. Anyway, I think it's got this is like a 70 cycle written all over it again. You know.
70s.
Yeah. 1970s, we had a pretty wet decade, but there was dry pinches in it, and we had rising interest rates. We had a cattle market crash. That's got the hallmarks of that. We're in that cycle again. So, and that's, I think everything goes in cycles, and I'm just looking at, well, especially in this area, it's got the 70s written all over it again.
And there's probably there's more factors now, isn't it? There's the export market, you know, there's overseas markets sort of influencing even more. There's probably some politics in there somewhere. There's, you know, the threat of, God forbid, another bloody pandemic, panic, whatever, you know, like just stuff going on and other things at play that would even make it even more challenging.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of negativity around, you know, I don't know, this UN and the World Economic Forum, how they're trying to shut down agriculture in Holland, and
yes,
they've tried to stop the use of fertilisers in Sri Lanka, and, you know, all this sort of cable. I think there's a lot of bad stuff happening behind these multinational corporations trying to take over the world, basically, you know. There's a bit of negativity there too.
I think the forefront of that for farmers, for you know, the general population of farmers is is that whole methane, you know, we should be eating bugs, not beef, kind of thing. I think that's the that's the coal face of it. Which is absolutely valid, because I got a big problem with that. But I think you're right, Baden. There's other layers to it. There's other, you know, the fact that large tracts of land are being bought up in the States as a thing, you know, and by someone who's probably not going to grow a whole lot of food on it. If he is, it's going to be GMO soybeans and trying to put into some ridiculous plant-based patties. You know, there are a lot of agendas at play about, you know, even this whole carbon thing from a farmer's point of view is like it presents an opportunity. But what it has done is that it's piqued the interest of a lot of non-farmers who are tapping in, making some money out of it, commoditisation of carbon, but also, probably, dare I say, worse than at a different level, is those corporations, individuals, whatever, who are going, maybe we can audit everyone and just monitor their carbon emission kind of footprint. And if they're emitting too much, we might just have to get them to eat bugs and not beef, because they've overshot their quota for the month.
Or worse, we'll shut down their bank accounts, or
yes,
all this sort of things.
Totally,
you know?
Totally. Now, a lot of people would probably think we're conspiracy theorists, Baden.
Probably would, but
I don't mind. I don't know exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's not fictitious. It's more a matter of these are facts. These things are happening, and there's more than talk going on about it. But it's about joining the dots and kind of seeing the similarities of who the individuals are involved, who the organisations are, their history, the scoreboard of what they've done and what they are likely again to do. And there's some very compelling reasons why they would want to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of money can be made.
A lot of money in it.
A lot of people
follow the money trail.
Follow the money, yeah.
But I think in regards to farmers and what we're trying to achieve and are achieving in the regen space, I think we are the ones leading. A lot of this regenerative and carbon sequestration, like the likes of Terry McCosker and these guys have done a lot of work with, and we know we can do it. It's been scientifically proven that we can sequester carbon through the right grazing methods and whatever. That's farmers that are in Australia that are leading it. So if a big corporation comes in here and says, right, boys, sorry, you've got to get off your land, we want to do it better. Well, I'm sorry. I don't think there is anyone doing it better. Certainly in the universities aren't teaching it. Farmers are leading the way, and I think that I'm pretty positive. I think in 10 or 15 years' time, we'll have way better soils than we have now. I think we're on the right track. I think our water cycles will be working. I think we'll have our nutrients cycling properly. It's just a matter of changing the mindset. But it's scientifically proven that we can sequester carbon into our soil. So, and if we can make money from the big corporations on the way, happy days. But at this point in time, I think we'll just sit back and see, just watch this space, just see how it unfolds.
Well, as we were saying before, Baden, the results or the outcome of you doing what you're doing are going to show up in the sale yards, whether that's yield or quality of livestock, or quality of and yield of crops, habitat, environment, ecology, all those things are going to benefit, the bottom line anyway, because they just do and they will. And, building resilience in your landscape, but also you're right, and if the carbon scenarios and market feels comfortable, well, then you're already in the game, if you choose to be, as opposed to forefront. Yeah, I guess the only thing that we're sort of considering it right now is doing some basic baseline, not thorough, because we don't want to go and spend a whole lot of money to do baseline and then work out. Well, actually, I don't know that, and there's a bit of science around how you can predict the increase from a point. We don't want to, because we've been at it for a few years now. I'm not suggesting we've hit the top of the peak, but it's just making an informed decision about what's the potential, and maybe a place like Palau over there has got a bit more potential because you're starting from a lower base because you haven't been working it in the same way you've been doing over here. So I think it's a sensible thing to keep your, get your finger in that pie without burning it off, but just checking it. But as a secondary thing, you primarily you're a farmer who's producing food.
That's it.
How's that sun on your face here? You not getting too cooked?
Go behind a cloud in a minute. Another rain coming.
It's pretty dark out here and there, isn't it? But what a lovely sun this afternoon. The sun's come back out after a couple of mils of rain.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little Q&A in a minute.
Yep.
I'm conscious of the time. You've been sitting there. You've probably got a sore bum. I've got to think just about my rest of the afternoon or evening's travel. But more importantly, we're going to do a little Q&A after this for our Patreon members who want to join us and hear what Baden has to say about some other answers to some questions I have.
Yep.
Very specific, hard. I've saved the hard ones up for later.
Good on you.
No, I haven't. They're pretty straight. They're pretty straightforward, but standard for the Q&A. Well, I can't say how much I've enjoyed. I can say. I'm going to say how much I've enjoyed today. I love coming through. I don't come, as I said to you before, I don't come through here very often. It's often to a bull sale in Narrabri on the odd occasion, and it always fascinates me because I've never lived up here. I've been through it plenty of times. But I love the diversity, the ranges and then the river flats and then that sort of intermediate kind of sloping country. It is incredibly diverse, in all different ways, and I guess that's one of the benefits of here is that lots of different things can be applied in a relatively small area. Different practices. You got cropping, you got cattle. There is a history of sheep up here, obviously, but not so many now. Certainly a good place for pigs.
Certainly, very good place for pigs. Certainly, different soil types here too. Huge variation in soil types.
Yes,
which poses a challenge sometimes, but it is quite a diverse area. Wildlife, fish, cod in the river, yellowbelly, catfish, platypus.
Oh yeah, well they're a good sign, aren't they? Indicate a species. Platypus. Yeah, I get
a lot of bird life.
Do you get feral pigs sort of pitching up to your pigs over here, hanging around?
In the drought, they were trying to get close because there'd be a bit of grain lying around an auger hopper or something. Even though I've got a ring lock fence around it, they'd
get in.
I haven't seen a fence yet that completely keeps pigs out. An electric fence, they'll take a run up at it.
Yeah, and squeal and then bang.
Yeah. So that's a worry. That's why we're trying to put an exclusion fence eventually all the way around this property.
Yep.
To try and knock their numbers down. But I don't like using poisons. We trap a lot, but you're only skirting around the edges. We've got, we've had aerial shoots. Got 1,800 in one day here not so long ago.
1,800?
Yeah.
In the valley?
In the valley, 20 places.
1,800.
And then within 2 months, you wouldn't know.
Back to that.
They would just spread up.
It's a pity it couldn't be that's a lot of nutrients that could be composted or something, isn't it?
Oh, it's such a waste, isn't it? It's a waste.
I mean, it could be an asset. I don't know. You'd struggle to call it an asset, but if it could be utilised as in compost or something.
Yeah.
That'd be the go.
And the professional shooter, it takes a certain amount to the chillers, and they go export to Germany into wild game meat.
Yes.
But they're only skirting around the edges too. So,
wow.
I'd hate to think how much they eat. And they'll find, the wild pig will find the best protein, to the point even in a drought, I've seen them eat grasshoppers to stay alive because the grasshopper's full of protein. There's just no protein anywhere else. Yep.
Well, I guess they do. I mean, your cattle and sheep won't because that's just not their nature.
They're survivors.
Totally. Well, I guess that's why they're so prolific here.
Yeah.
Baden, we might call that quits. I'm also conscious that your video is probably running out of batteries as well.
No worries.
And we'll do it. We'll have a little break and we'll do another 10 minutes. No, that's fantastic. No, that's great. As I said, it's been fantastic to meet you, hear your story, have the chat, look around, bring a bit of rain with me.
Yeah.
Anytime. It'd be great. No, one of my favourite things is travelling around the countryside, speaking with farmers, understanding how they got to be in this, whether it's geographically in this part of the world or whether it's just philosophically how they got to be there. We could have gone a bit deeper into some of that, maybe another time. Yeah, just the kind of the human side of it, like the challenge of change and that. But it sounds like you had a very a father who was willing to let you make those changes, and it sounds like you're probably in some ways willing to let the boys do that as too.
Most definitely. I think they've got to be allowed to have their own and run with it.
if they turn up and say, hey, Dad, I think we should go and hit that thing with a whole lot of MCPA and glean and want to get back to a monoculture, what would you say?
I would say...
You can swear if you want. No. Good. Well, there you go. So you say you're principle based as well, though.
And I'd give them a reason.
Yeah. Fair enough. No. And I'm sure they would respect that.
But I think the good thing is that they're excited. They're coming up with their ideas and forming their opinions now too, which is a great thing on the way the place should go forward.
Well, exciting for you. I imagine it's exciting for you that they've come back here.
Very.
You've got to accommodate them. There's some houses to fix up and things to sort of work out. But that's a great.
Very lucky when you consider, over the last 20 years, how many country kids, how many off farms have drifted to the city.
Yeah.
And we didn't push them anyway. It's just the way they wanted to go. So.
Well, you must have done something right.
I suppose.
Or sure, Jen might have done something right. She might be making up for you.
It's a good mother.
No, I think that's great. I think that's a really, not that the story is finished by any means, but that's a call it a success story. But I think that's the important thing, or the critical thing, or the thing to consider is, giving kids the opportunity. You want them to come back to an asset, not a liability. And I think that's what you're doing and what I advocate. And I guess what I feel is a good thing is that people doing what you're doing on farms is creating an asset, is creating an attractive thing to come back to. And whether that's for just because their wives are happy to have children in an environment that's not doused in chemical every day, or whether it's just the vibe, or whether it's just because there's a source of clean, nutritious food, or myriad of reasons, I think it's very compelling for young people to come back to these sort of environments because that's thankfully a choice, but also it's a pretty bright future, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and they've seen the worst of it too. They've come through the worst drought in my lifetime, and probably my grandfather's and his grandfather's lifetime.
Yep.
And there was a pretty bad flood the other day, so it's taken out fencing, and it nearly got up to the Pallel house we're trying to renovate. And they're still there. So.
That's right. Lots of reasons they can move. Now, is that tractor over there bogged, or is that an old tractor and an old bore or something?
That's waiting for a part, actually.
Oh, right. So it's actually still
it's
still operable.
Right. We've got an oil leak in it, so it's waiting parts.
Oh, right. Sometimes seeing old tractors and paddocks is a telltale sign that someone's just got they've got a bore there and they've just got the. You've got a 3-point linkage kind of pump thing going. No. I've seen a few of them at home.
No, not too many bores down this end of the valley, actually.
No. Well, Baden, we better knock off and we'll sit back in a minute. Well, that is a wrap for the season. Please don't turn off and fast forward or go to the next episode of someone else's podcast. Hang in there. I do have a few things to announce, a few things to say before we wrap this season up, this season 7 of the Regenerative Journey. I've got a few thank yous and a few other things just to drop on your table and in your ears before you have a break from the Regenerative Journey. Maybe go back and listen to a few previous episodes because there's a shitload of them. I do have some thank yous. I'll do that now. Reese, I'll say primarily because he's, as I said, probably said previously, he's a patient of a saint. If I couldn't do it without Reese's magical audio technical wizardry, pulling these episodes together each and every week throughout the season, sorting out my stuff-ups, blending things together, overlaying with all those awesome things he does. Big thank you to Reese. He's getting married soon too. Actually, he's getting married around the time this will probably come out, or maybe he's already married by then. And he is going to take a well-earned break, I'm sure, for the honeymoon and from his duties at the podcast. Of course, Michelle, who is ever present in the background and the foreground to helping keep me on track, lining up guests, all the administration, all the stuff that happens, and I'm mostly oblivious to it all, but it's so integral to the success and the progress and the getting these punched out every week throughout a season. Highland Beef, of course, our show sponsors for a second season in a row. Really appreciate their sponsorship and their support. Beef, cattle, meat, farming, grazing is very close to my heart, and it's been a beautiful union and partnership throughout the season. Some fascinating interviews, our in-between episodes, and Baden, who you've just listened to. To finish off the season, is a great example of the type of farmer, the progressive farmers that they have in their business and that they partner with to get good grass-fed beef onto the plates of discerning and hungry customers. So thank you again to Murray and Tony and all Alex and the team there at Highland Beef. A big thank you to our guests. We've had, I can't remember how many episodes we've actually punched out this season, but probably more than normal. It's been quite a long season. However, it's been wonderful. Each and every one of them has absolutely fully deserved their place in season 7. There's just so many more I could interview. There's ones overseas. There's so many more in Australia. There's ones around the corner. There's ones on the other side of the country. There's no shortage of opportunity. Well, opportunity to interview them is sometimes tricky, but certainly the number of guests that we could interview and would love to interview is never ending. Thank you to my family, Angelica especially, for her intro. She does a little, and that was Jason Carter. And you're listening to Regenerative Journey. She does that so much better than I can, and she's integral in the success because she's a major part of the team, not just the sort of business team here, but obviously family and I couldn't do. There's lots of things I couldn't do without her. So thank you to Angelica and the family, the kids, for their patience too, because it does take some time to do these little recordings and leaving home to interview people. I appreciate their support. And finally, in terms of thank yous, you, the listener, if you weren't giving me feedback, if you weren't enjoying these, if you weren't being inspired by the guests and their stories, their own regenerative journeys, then I don't think it'd be any point me doing it. And so we do receive amazing feedback. We are told of the inspiration that is given to you, the listeners, by the guests and their interviews and they're digging deep into their regenerative journeys. And so thank you for spending the time, because, there's no doubt there are a bazillion different podcasts out there that you could be listening to, you could be spending your time with, and you've chosen at various times to listen to the regenerative journey. Feel free to go back in time and jump into some of the previous episodes. And I thank you for your support and your kind words. It's been fantastic. The Australian Podcast Awards are coming up. I think I'm not sure when the nominations are announced tomorrow. So I'm not sure whether you'll hear maybe on socials if we do end up on the finals. We did submit a couple of entries there. 2 out of the last 3 years we've actually been finalists in different categories, which is, I've got to say, I'm pretty chuffed about, because I think a lot of people do enter those competitions, and it's just, I guess it's a mark of the quality of the podcast, the guests, and it's, we'll see how we go this year. I won't count my chickens. I do just want to reference, if anyone's interested in biodynamic workshops, just go to charliearnott.com.au and check out the events there. There'll be plenty of events. Next year is going to be chockers with other biodynamic workshops, with other events we're putting on. We've just finished our webinar series literally today. In recording this today, we finished our 8th webinar series with Kay Tomrup, Brad and Katie Collins, and Jake Chandler as practitioners of regenerative practices at various stages of of their own journeys, and it was fantastic. So we'll be doing something next year. Stay tuned for the next instalment of your regenerative journey, and we'll get back to you with some how that might be rolling out next year. Also, Integrity Meats, if you want to sample some of our lamb and our grass-fed lamb, and also other delicious pasture-raised grass-fed products from Integrity Meats, go to their website and put your order in. They're in Goulburn. They're fantastic. So don't fight the urge to get yourself some good grass-fed products from them. one last little plug for Little Plains, our Airbnb. It's live, it's going, it's amazing. It sleeps 12, it's got 5 bedrooms, it's got everything you can ever need there. Set amongst the beautiful rolling hills of just out of Burrawa, and it is an old Federation 1927 built home there that you are just going to love. So we would love to have people there as families, as couples, as retreats. We think it's actually going to be a great spot for retreats for people to sort of take their clients, hold a business sort of retreat with your staff, your employees, your whatever you want it to be. We will cater, and just get in touch with us. Go to charliearnott.com.au, check out the Farm Stay page, and put your expression of interest in there, or just get in touch about that, and when you can want to book in and all that sort of caper. We will happy to chat personally about your needs and how that we can make that all work for you. That's enough for me. I'm going to give my voice a rest from at least the podcast for the next few months, as hopefully the rain is just starting to tumble down here. We trust we're going to get a good swag of rain in the next 24 hours. We could do with it. I know there's plenty of people north and west of here that could do with a good drenching, and we'll see how the season plays out for the rest of the year. But thank you again, you listeners. This is Season 7 signing off for the Regenerative Journey, and I trust your regenerative journey, the continuation of your own regenerative journey, goes swimmingly. You'll meet some challenges, you'll have some wins, you'll learn a lot, no doubt, and as long as you're going forward and progressing, and you're green and you're growing. So we'll catch up with you for Season 8 of the Regenerative Journey.
This podcast is produced by Rhys Jones at Jaeger Media. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe, share, rate and review. For more episode information, please head over to www.charliearnott.com.au.